The National Desk, America's News Now.
I'm Eugene Ramirez. Breaking news off the top tonight. Officials in Maine now saying that the suspect in Wednesday's mass shooting, Robert Card, has been found dead. Didi Gatton is tracking the details coming into the live desk right now. Didi, what do we know so far?
A lot developing right now, Eugene. We are told the 40-year-old was found dead less than an hour ago from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Police say Robert Card was found in the woods near Lisbon, which is about 8 miles from Lewiston, where he is believed to have killed 18 people. Of course, there has been a massive search for Card since the shooting Wednesday night. Before finding Card, police did find a cell phone that belonged to Card and a note which indicated that the 40-year-old didn't expect to be alive when it was found, which is partially why the investigation has shifted to searching nearby waterways. We are currently waiting for a news conference from state officials to begin any minute now. Again, the suspected shooter in the Lewiston, Maine mass shooting has been found dead, according to multiple sources, from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. As soon as we learn more, Eugene, we will be sure to bring it to you right here from the live desk.
All right, Didi, thanks, and we'll keep an eye on that news conference and bring that to you whenever it happens live. But here are the names and the faces of the 18 innocent people who lost their lives in that deadly massacre at a bar and bowling alley. They range in age from just 14 to 76. Earlier tonight, authorities revealed their identities after their loved ones had been notified. Now, among those victims at the bowling alley are a father and son. Bill Young and his teenage son Aaron were there bowling Wednesday night when gunfire broke out. The National Desk's Brad Rogers talked to loved ones about this family tragedy.
Among the first people killed by the gunman Wednesday night were 44-year-old Bill Young and his 14-year-old son Aaron.
Losing one would have been hard enough, but losing both of them is just awful.
Kayla Putnam lost her stepdad and younger brother. She says the two of them like to go bowling together. She still can't believe they're gone.
I mean, I'm still having moments now. Every 5 minutes, I'm like, this can't be real.
She says Aaron was the baby of the family. He was a freshman at Winthrop High School.
He gave the best hugs. He was such a sweet kid, never talked bad about anybody or anything, and he was an honor student.
This kid has been in schools since kindergarten here, so I think that the ripple effect is beyond our comprehension.
As for Kayla's stepdad, she says he was the rock of the family, the one everyone would turn to in times like these.
He was, anchor of the family, just a great guy. He's going to be very, very missed, and it's very hard to cope without him right now.
Winthrop Superintendent Jim Hodgkin posted this. Sadly, we have learned that a freshman at the high school and his dad are among the victims that were killed. Additionally, the uncle of another high school student was also killed. This is a tremendous tragedy for our area, our town, our students, and everyone. My heart is broken by this.
Everyone was someone's son, daughter, brother, sister, parent.
Kayla is especially worried about her mom, who right now is distraught over the loss of her husband and son. How's your mom doing?
Devastated. Just absolutely devastated.
That was Brad Rogers reporting. Maine and especially the people of Lewiston are receiving an outpouring of support right now. The governor stopped by a hospital today to meet with the survivors of the attack and the medical staff that went directly to the hospital when they heard what happened. And also breaking tonight, Israel is expanding ground operations now in Gaza. The repeated explosions lighting up the Gaza skyline, leaving the region on the verge of an all-out war. An advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that this is just the beginning, saying that it will increase until we achieve our goal. Let's go back to Didi Gatton at the live desk for the details on that. Didi.
Eugene, the intense bombing campaign called an expanding of ground operations by Israeli Defense Forces. An attack of this kind has been expected since Hamas' October 7th attacks, but is not yet clear whether the Israeli Defense Force has signaled the start of it. As we know, at least 200 hostages are being held by Hamas in Gaza. Taking you live right now to the White House, where the Biden administration is working to secure their release as the violence intensifies. But it has been days since anyone has been freed. This new satellite image shows the destruction in Gaza. The orange and yellow dots represent both areas with damaged buildings and the impact of the craters largely peppered around Gaza City. Before we came on the air, Doctors Without Borders saying they have now lost contact with some of their Palestinian contacts, expressing deep concern for patients, medical staff, and those seeking refuge at hospitals. New heartbreaking video from inside a neonatal intensive care unit in the Gaza Strip, emphasizing how this humanitarian crisis is deepening tonight as these little ones and their families now rely on hospitals, Eugene, rapidly running out of supplies.
All right, Dee Dee, thanks. And right now, the United Nations General Assembly is calling for an immediate and sustained humanitarian truce between Israel and Hamas. The resolution demands safe and unhindered access to Gaza to deliver aid. It was submitted by Arab states and received the overwhelming support of 120 countries. The U.S. and Israel were among the 14 countries that voted against the resolution, which condemns violence against all civilians, Israeli and Palestinian. Tonight, several United Nations agencies say that they've lost touch with their local staff there in Gaza. A social media post from the World Health Organization states it hasn't been able to contact its health workers and humanitarian partners on the ground. And UNICEF's executive director also says her agency's lost touch with its team in Gaza and that she's extremely concerned about their safety and the immediate health risks of vulnerable patients. As these airstrikes intensify, the U.S. government says negotiations to release hostages held by Hamas will not stop. The Biden administration said yesterday that it was hopeful that a deal would be reached in the coming days to allow U.S. citizens to evacuate Gaza through Egypt. On Tuesday, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said 10 Americans were unaccounted for. A special ceremony was held tonight in Washington, D.C. An empty Shabbat table, you see it here, that was set up at the Lincoln Memorial in honor of the hostages. This event was put together by the American Jewish Committee with help from families and friends of Americans being held captive right now.
It is time for a change, and I am ready to lead our great nation to a secure and a more prosperous future.
Another Democrat has his eye on 2024. Congressman Dean Phillips of Minnesota challenging President Biden for the party's nomination for president. Phillips acknowledges that he faces an uphill climb since many Democrats are fervently backing a second Biden term. Here's the National Desk's Janae Bowens.
I'm Dean Phillips, and I'm running for president of the United States of America.
Congressman Dean Phillips of Minnesota is the first sitting lawmaker to take on Biden in the Democratic presidential primary.
I think it's time for a new generation. I think it's time to pass the torch. And I say now. I think the time is now, because I think 4 years from now, it might be too late.
Biden's age, a key factor in Phillips' decision to run. That sentiment echoed in a poll from Monmouth University released earlier this month. It shows 56% of Democrats say President Biden is too old to serve another term.
America is telling all of us, through polling, through conversation, that they do not want this man as our nominee next time.
Congratulations. But the polling shows Phillips' chances might be a long shot. A large majority of Democrats, 68%, are enthusiastic about Biden becoming the party's nominee.
I don't know if this is actually going to be a significant primary challenge. In all likelihood, it probably isn't. But, you know, a sign of weakness for presidents who may end up losing re-election is that they had some trouble within their own primary.
Phillips is a Biden supporter, but there are key issues where he's going to attempt to draw a distinction, such as crime and the border.
Chaos at our border and in our cities is growing, while our commitment to countering it is receding.
The Biden campaign appears to be brushing off Phillips' run. In a statement, they didn't even mention him by name, but said in part, quote, President Biden is proud of the historic, unified support he has from across the Democratic Party for his re-election. Now, Eugene, Phillips announced Friday in New Hampshire, traditionally the nation's first presidential primary. But due to Democratic Party rule changes, it won't be recognized this year. And Biden isn't on the ballot there, potentially giving Phillips a chance to boost his candidacy.
And Janae, how are Democratic members responding to his bid?
Yeah, so not so well. Biden allies are calling Phillips' run a distraction that will highlight Biden's weak points. Now, Phillips recently left his House Democratic leadership position because of scrutiny over his calls for a Biden alternative. Eugene.
Janae Bowens in Washington tonight. Thank you. And new details now on Donald Trump's New York civil fraud trial. The former president is expected to testify beginning November 6th. That's after his three eldest children take the stand. Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump were sued along with their father and the Trump Organization, all accused of committing fraud by, in part, inflating the value of assets to obtain favorable loan terms. Ivanka Trump will testify, but she is not facing any charges in the case.
Coming up next, sheer devastation in parts of paradise. The latest efforts to bring much needed relief to the people of southern Mexico. Brand new video from Acapulco, Mexico tonight revealing the wrath of Hurricane Otis. At least 27 people killed, and now the need for precious supplies like food are intensifying. These new before and after satellite images showing parts of Acapulco in ruins right now. Many of the city's destination high-rise hotels and residences now mud-stained, twisted metal. An estimated 80% of hotels in Acapulco have been severely damaged. Chilling drone video just in tonight showing the city streets swallowed by water. Mexican authorities said today they were opening Acapulco's airport in a limited capacity to commercial flights from Mexico City to evacuate people and bring medical supplies. We're told military aid finally arrived in Acapulco late Wednesday after their travel was hindered by the same damage they came to help combat. At least 270 buses, Eugene, are also now being used to help assist in those evacuations.
Thanks, Dee Dee. And new tonight, extreme heat has caused more deaths than ever before in one Arizona county. Maricopa County public health officials have confirmed 469 heat-related deaths so far this year, but they say an additional 153 deaths are still being investigated as possibly heat-related. Already, that figure has surpassed the previous record set last year of 425 heat-related deaths in the county. The National Desk's team of reporters bringing you the headlines from coast to coast. We're taking the pulse of America first to California, where a free family-run haunted house in Fresno designed specifically for children with autism was targeted by thieves.
Spooky season is here and Walker Maze is back in Fresno. Ted Walker owns a Halloween attraction that has been thrilling families in Fresno for more than 9 years. And he happily does it for free. But that joy is now tempered following a theft Wednesday.
I was hurt. I was hurt and disappointed.
The maze was designed to be autism friendly. Scary music is turned off upon request to make the experience more enjoyable. And the scary performers step away. Walker says this created an opportunity for one family to gain access.
They requested a no scare, no actor, which is pretty common. So we pulled all the actors out. We waited for them to go in there and experience the maze.
He says the worst thing is when they got out.
They probably had everything concealed and hidden. They just smiled, thanked us and everything, told us they appreciate what we're doing for the community and just went on.
After that,
another family showed up and they wanted the full scare experience. So as our actors went in, we started realizing that a lot of stuff was missing.
But Walker says despite the theft, the spooky fun will continue, still for free.
We're still going to be open. We're still going to help the community out. This little setback's not going to stop us, and we're still here for you guys.
Now over to Maryland. Tonight, 3 teens are recovering from gunshot injuries after they were shot right outside of a Baltimore high school this morning. Police say as they arrived at that scene, they found a 15 and a 16-year-old boy, both students, shot and rendered aid until medics arrived. The third victim, another 15-year-old boy, had walked himself to the hospital. The roughly 7:50 a.m. shooting triggered a campus lockdown just as classes started.
I'm in my class. We're in the class for like an hour and a half. We getting alerts. My teacher getting alerts talking about 3 kids got shot in front of the building. We can't go out the classroom. I'm stuck in the classroom. I can't get out.
Officials report the teens' injuries aren't life-threatening. The investigation continues tonight. And in New York, several Albany County and Rensselaer County jail officers are facing sexual assault allegations dating back to the 1990s. 8 lawsuits filed this month allege female inmates were abused, and officials knew it was happening. The cases have been filed under the Adult Survivors Act. That law, signed last year, created a 1-year window waiving the statute of limitations for civil suits to be filed by alleged victims of sexual offenses.
People are scared to come forward for obvious reasons. They're afraid of retaliation, and there are no safeguards currently in place, or the ones that are in place are ineffective. They're not keeping people safe.
The victims are seeking damages from $20 to $25 million. Developing now, a social media challenge taking a dangerous turn. Within the past week, people in the greater Cincinnati area have reported multiple incidents of teens jumping in front of traffic, capturing the moment on video for likes. As the National Desk, David Winter reports, the life-threatening trend is happening near and far. We're going to get back to that in a second. We have some breaking news now, I believe. We're going to go to Dee Dee Gatton. Dee Dee.
Yeah, right now developing, they are about to get up to speak. Earlier, we told you that the suspect in the Maine mass shooting is believed to be dead. Looks like law enforcement officials are speaking right now. Let's take a listen in.
I stand here tonight to simply report that the Maine State Police have located the body of Robert Card in Lisbon. He is dead. I've called President Biden to inform him about this news. I've informed Senator King, Senator Collins, Representative Pingree, and Representative Golden. Commissioner Sawchuk will describe the circumstances of that discovery in some detail in a few moments. But this discovery is entirely thanks to the hundreds of local, county, state, and federal law enforcement members from all over, and people from other states as well. People who searched tirelessly to arrive at this moment. And on behalf of all Maine people, I want to express my profound gratitude for their unwavering bravery and determination and fortitude, and for the leadership of Lewiston Police Chief St. Where'd he go? Right there, that guy. Lewiston's Police Chief St. Pierre. Like many people, I'm breathing a sigh of relief tonight, knowing that Robert Card is no longer a threat to anyone. I know there are some people, and many people, who share that sentiment, but I also know that his death may not bring solace to many. But now is the time to heal. And with this search concluded, I know that law enforcement continues to fully investigate all the facts so we can bring what closure we can to the victims and their families. And I ask that all Maine people continue to keep those families and all of the people impacted by this tragedy in their thoughts and prayers. Lewiston is a special place. This isn't us. Lewiston is a great place. It's a close-knit community of fine people, people with a long history, a history of hard work, of persistence, of faith, of opening its big heart to people everywhere. And tonight, the city of Lewiston and the state of Maine begin to move forward on what will be a long and difficult road to healing, but we will heal together. Thank you. And again, my deepest gratitude of all the people of the state of Maine to these wonderful members of law enforcement who came from all over to help us solve this crime and put closure on this investigation. Robert Card is dead. Now I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Sawchuk.
Thank you very much, Governor. We truly do appreciate all of your support. I think it's incredibly important that the next person that speaks this evening is Lewiston's chief law enforcement champion, and that is Dave St. Pierre. Dave.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you, Governor, for allowing me this opportunity. Bear with me, please. I certainly did not have much time to prepare a speech here. I want to say to everybody, thank you so much. Our community can now breathe a sigh of relief, as the Governor stated, and I can't echo that enough. Our work, again, is not done here. I was very elated tonight when I got the call from Commissioner Sawchuk advising me of the revelation of what took place and that Mr. Card is deceased and no longer a threat to our community or any other community. I just don't want to forget the families that are grieving and will continue to grieve. I don't want to forget the law enforcement officials that have worked tirelessly throughout this whole event to come to a good conclusion. Our men and women of the Lewiston Police Department, of all of our surrounding agencies. We have with us Chief McGee here from Lisbon, where Mr. Card was found. This is vitally important to all of us that this conclusion came to light tonight. We're gonna grieve for the families that lost loved ones here. We're gonna continue to work. We're gonna persevere. And we've become better people for it in terms of working together as teams. We've learned a lot from some mistakes. We've won a lot of accomplishments this evening. Again, I wasn't really prepared for this on a Friday night at 10:30, but I'm very happy to be here and very happy to say the threat is over. Thank you.
Just a reaction from your officers when they got the news of this, your officers were working this case.
Sure. So our officers are being notified now as we speak. Some know, obviously, sooner than others. There are many that are still home. They're home with their families. And I'm quite certain at this point in time, we all know about this. This is something that all of our law enforcement personnel, ours and any surrounding community, has been paying very close attention to in awaiting positive news or good news. And this is by far the best news we've had in quite some time.
Was there any belief at this time that the suspect was dead before finding him, or did this come as a brand new revelation that you've never saw coming before this?
So our reality here is that the search has been extensive. It's been thorough. It's been nonstop since the minute we started speaking with you and long before that. So all of these options are on the table, as we knew. We continue to search locations, in some cases multiple times. And we will have more information about exactly how this went down. We're going to have another briefing tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. And I would please encourage you to think about next steps from your end, information that you would find important. And I will say that this is not going to be a long Q&A this evening. We wanted to make sure that we got this information out as fast as possible and as responsible as possible. And what I mean by that is that the time between the notification of the press release and now, there wasn't a lot of details there. There wasn't a lot of details there because we wanted to talk to the victims' families. We wanted to say, this is coming. It's important that they heard that information as close to first as anybody else. And you know who else we called? Was the family of the suspect. And they lost a loved one in this scenario. And there were many of that family that was very cooperative with us throughout. So they deserve that phone call. So we had those conversations tonight before joining you here. We also got a chance to spend some time with the brothers and sisters of law enforcement and our public safety partners that have been so incredibly helpful over the last few days, to say the least. So, one second. So right here, sir.
Where exactly did you find him and when exactly did you find him?
So at 7:45 this evening is when Mr. Card was located. I won't give you an exact address. It was near the river along Androscoggin in Lisbon Falls was the actual location. Ma'am, did you have a question? Ma'am, did you have a question?
When do police think he died?
That all remains to be seen, right? So our reality is that we found that body at 7:45 and it's 10:25 now. So there continues to be a lot of work that needs to be done here at the scene with the medical examiner's office. So there's a much more follow-up to what happened. But, sir, did you have a question?
Any indication that he had an accomplice, and how was he found?
I won't be able to answer either one of those questions at this point. Accomplices and things of that nature, we've had no indication of that since the very beginning. But as we've talked about before, these next steps are going to gives us an opportunity to do things as fast as we can, in the sense that we want to provide closure and information, but also slow things down a little bit, because we need to look at video evidence. We need to look at the various pieces of technology that are in play here, in hopes that gives us some additional information around some of the things that you're going to be concerned about. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I'm happy to take a look at that information in hopes that I can get that back to you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. That remains to be seen. Again, we have attorney generals that we need to work with, and other individuals that are in play here. I'm going to take a couple more questions, again with the mindset that it's 10 o'clock tonight, and we do want to come back tomorrow morning to have this conversation. Right here.
And you were just listening in on a press conference on the Maine mass shooting. We have just learned from officials that the body of the suspect, Robert Card, was found at around 7:45 this evening in Maine. Of course, he had not been seen since Wednesday night's shooting, when police say they believe he killed 18 people and wounded 13. The governor starting off this press conference expressing relief, saying there is no longer a threat. Local officials, the suspect on your screen right there, Robert Card, confirming that the suspect is now dead. Did not release many other details, but there will be a press conference at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. We will continue to follow this story and give you all the latest updates in our next half hour. And again, continuing, Maine officials, the governor providing an update on the suspect that you see right here on your screen, Robert Card. He had not been seen since Wednesday night's shooting in Lewiston, Maine. Police say they believe he killed 18 people and wounded 13. We've been learning since this shooting details of the victim. And tonight we learned again, nearly 8 o'clock, around 7:45 this evening, that Card's body was found in Maine. We have not learned any other details what else could be at play, but we do know there will be a press conference. We are hoping to learn some more information tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. We'll be right back after this.
The National Desk, America's News Now.
We heard directly from students who were there that they were terrified, that they are scared.
As tensions flare over the Israel-Hamas war, protests continue on college campuses nationwide. How universities are responding to the division. Plus, the U.S. strikes back following attacks on American forces in the Middle East. New details on how troops were targeted. Then,
we still have not gotten prices back down to an acceptable level.
a slight improvement on inflation, but will consumers feel it? The new data that could impact your household budget. Live from the nation's capital, this is the National Desk, America's News Now. Good evening, I'm Eugene Ramirez. We begin with breaking news tonight. After a two-day manhunt, officials in Maine say the suspect in Wednesday's mass shooting is dead. They say Robert Card was found in a wooded area about 8 miles from the crime scene in Lewiston with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. That was also reported by CNN. And now tonight, all 18 victims have been identified and a shelter-in-place order has been lifted. The National Desk's Megan Clark is in downtown Lewiston tonight, where residents are starting to come out of their homes. Megan, they've been telling you about their experience.
Of course, and just such a somber feeling here tonight, and those residents, many now walking in this new path forward of grief and disbelief. But the significant news this evening will be the first step for all of them, all community members here in Lewiston and beyond, toward getting the answers they're hoping to find.
Brian M. McFarland, 41 years of age.
Pictures showing the smiling, kind faces of 18 people, some grandparents or parents, another victim, a beloved 14-year-old son.
Aaron Young, 14.
Honored with a moment of silence after an aggressive all-day manhunt Friday night, authorities lifting the shelter in place for Lewiston and surrounding communities.
Do what we can. It's a tragedy.
Residents like Angela Dupre venturing out after traveling almost an hour out of town for the basic necessities.
Today we had to go to Augusta just to get groceries.
Inside El Pancho's Mexican Grill, which is just a 2-minute drive from one of the shooting scenes.
Tonight, after it was like an hour ago, and business just started picking up. I'm like, oh my gosh.
A quick conversation with owner Yolanda McWhinney proves business owners have not only been fearful, reopening carefully and slowly, they also bear a new, shared community pain.
It's awful, especially because like everybody in the industry knows everybody, and you know it's been horrible for everyone. Terrible.
I can't even imagine. My son's 14, and just I reach out to the families and send my love and support. So.
And again, police say investigations at those multiple scenes will likely still take time, still take several days as they process evidence. And as we heard tonight in that update, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. Investigators are hoping to sort of slow that process down, looking at pulling in more video evidence, elements on the technology side, and of course, a focus on those grieving families. Reporting live in Lewiston tonight, Megan Clark. Back to you.
Absolutely, Megan. Thanks so much. And we're going to bring you updates on the shooting investigation throughout the evening. But you can find updates any time of day on our website, thenationaldesk.com.
Eugene, it is hard to believe that some of the video we are just getting in tonight is real. Repeated blasts making the skies of Gaza look more like a wall of fire. Heavy airstrikes seemingly nonstop for hours. However, as of right now, it's not clear if this is the beginning of Israel's anticipated ground invasion into Gaza. A few hours ago, Israel rejecting the call for a ceasefire in Gaza, approved by the United Nations General Assembly, with the country's foreign minister calling it despicable. Now, we are now getting a clear look at some of the aftermath you're watching on your screen here. Once crowded communities, now mountains of ash and rubble as people sift through. They are trying to pick through anything that can be saved. A top Palestinian telecom provider now saying it has suffered complete disruption of all communication and internet services in Gaza, making it now the worst blackout since the invasion began.
Since the war began 3 weeks ago, the United States is seeing a spike of anti-Semitic incidents. Here's the National Desk, Kayla Gaskins.
Violence breaking out at a protest near Tulane.
Video showing pro-Palestinian protesters assaulting someone holding an Israeli flag. Security concerns spiking as tensions flare nationwide. In Brooklyn, New York, a security warning issued to Jewish residents ahead of a protest on Saturday. In Manhattan, Jewish students at Cooper's Union barricading themselves in the college's library earlier this week after being chased there by a mob of anti-Israel demonstrators.
We heard directly from students who were there that they were terrified, that they are scared. It's really not something that is specific to Cooper Union. It's something that we're seeing in NYU, in Columbia, in so many other campuses, not only in the New York area, but all across the country.
An NYC councilwoman now calling for the resignation of the college's president if she can't protect her students. At Columbia, an Israeli student assaulted earlier this week after confronting a woman who was tearing down posters of the hostages taken by Hamas on October 7th. Following the assault, the university deciding to postpone a major campus fundraiser. In Washington, D.C., this exchange taking place between a man who parked his car in the bike lane and a woman trying to pass with her child.
I am, in fact.
I knew it! I knew it! I knew it! I knew it! I knew you was a Jew! You people are the devil.
On Capitol Hill, alumni of George Washington University who serve in Congress penning a letter to the school's president expressing total disgust for the pro-Hamas statement projected on a library wall that read, "Glory to our martyrs." The lawmakers demanding an investigation. GW's quick response stands in contrast to other universities like Harvard, who received intense criticism for not swiftly condemning anti-Israel demonstrations on campus as anti-Semitism. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins for the National Desk, America's News Now.
At the live desk, we can now confirm a suicide drone targeted U.S. forces in western Iraq. This less than 12 hours after we reported U.S. airstrikes hit two facilities in Syria used by Iran and its proxies to attack American troops in the Middle East. We are told the drone got within just a few miles of U.S. forces at Al Assad Air Base in Iraq before troops were able to shoot it down. And this after it was announced nearly 900 American troops either have already been or are being deployed to the Middle East to offer more protection for U.S. forces and interests overseas. The Pentagon stressing those troops will not be going to Israel. As of right now, the U.S. has not launched any counterstrike in response to the latest drone attack. But of course, Eugene, we will continue to follow this for you and bring you any updates as soon as we learn more.
All right, we'll check back, Dee. Thanks. And to your money now, a new inflation report shows the rate at which prices are increasing fell slightly in September. But what's not showing improvement, however, is how Americans perceive the economy. The National Desk's Sandra Elnashar looks at the latest numbers impacting household budgets.
Another month, another slight improvement in the rate of inflation. But is it enough to deliver noticeable relief to Americans strained by inflation at the grocery store, gas station, and everywhere in between?
Hopefully they keep coming down, though. We need this.
Average gas prices are down 32 cents over the past month, according to AAA. But over at the Federal Reserve, where policymakers are trying to decide whether they should raise interest rates once more this year to slow demand and lower inflation, two new sets of data out this week are coming into focus. The first is core personal consumption expenditures. It's a measure of prices Americans pay for goods and services that excludes ebbs and flows of food and energy. It just dropped to a two-year low of 3.7% over 12 months, according to the Commerce Department.
Even as we've seen some progress made down from the peak of inflation in June of last year, where the Consumer Price Index was posting a year-over-year increase of 9.1%, that we still have not gotten prices back down to an acceptable level.
The second thing the Fed is taking in this week, a red-hot reading of U.S. GDP, showing the economy grew at a rate of 4.9% in the third quarter. Economists credit robust consumer spending for that strong economic growth, but few are optimistic it can last as consumers run out of excess savings or turn to credit cards to keep up with high prices. And that's something the White House acknowledged this week.
It's hard to know right now what retail spending and consumer spending more broadly is going to look like.
Economic headwinds have turned to political headwinds for the president. A recent Morning Consult Bloomberg News poll of registered voters in these 7 swing states found that voters trust former President Trump on the economy over President Biden.
The reality is that many consumers are continuing to struggle just to pay for necessities.
And it may impact how they vote. In Washington, I'm Atrel Nashar for the National Desk, America's News Now.
Still to come, fast fashion controversy. The popular online retailer that's caught the attention of lawmakers over claims of forced labor.
And coming up next, the urgent search for a suspected drunk driver accused of killing a man now crossing international borders. How a young woman managed to evade police in Washington state, still ahead.
As we get to break now, live look over Seattle, thanks to our station Como, part of our network of 4,000 local journalists. You're watching the National Desk, America's News Now.
Taking you live over Seattle tonight, where the search for a drunk driver suspected of killing a 27-year-old man is now expanding overseas. The suspect, 26-year-old Ting Ye, is believed to have fled to her home in China. Now, Ye is accused of killing a 27-year-old man who was a passenger in her Porsche back in September when the car just skidded off the road and flipped. Ye was taken to the Harborview Medical, but the man was pronounced dead at the scene. Police say they were not notified when Ye was discharged from the hospital until after she had already fled and crossed the border into Canada. Police said they were able to determine Ye had someone drive her to Vancouver, where she got on a flight to China. It's now possible the person who helped her leave could face major consequences. Police, Eugene, are still investigating.
You may have noticed it's taking a little less money to fill up your gas tank. According from the fact check team, are gas prices dropping?
Thankfully, they are, Eugene. The average price for a gallon of gas dropped to $3.50 this week, according to AAA. That's almost a double-digit decline from early September, when the average price was $3.86. And the national average could soon fall to the lowest level since March, and that's according to Gas Buddy.
Now, this is the 5th week in a row that gas prices fall, and that's likely to continue. Why is that?
This might be surprising, but gas prices typically drop in the fall and winter months, and there are a few reasons for that. One, refineries actually switch to a cheaper winter fuel blend. 2, there's a decrease in demand since people are driving less in the colder months. And 3, the refinery issues we saw in the summer are a thing of the past thanks to that drop in demand.
And the biggest factor affecting gas prices, though, is crude oil prices. Got to remember that. Courtney, thanks. For more on this fact check team topic, including links to Courtney's sources, scan the QR code on your screen or visit thenationaldesk.com.
They are popular products that could be sitting in your kitchen. Next from the Live Desk, what you need to know about a recall of pressure cookers after reports of burn injuries. Best Buy is recalling nearly 1 million pressure cookers and separate inner pots. The recalled pressure cookers are sold under the brand Insignia. They have incorrect volume markings on their inner pots that can cause you to overfill them, resulting in hot food and liquids potentially being ejected from the device. According to the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, there have been 17 reports of burn injuries, some of which were second-degree and severe burns. You can identify the products by their model numbers, which we have on our website, thenationaldesk.com. You are urged to stop using the products immediately, and you can contact Best Buy for replacement parts. We're back in 90 seconds.
Tonight, it's never been easier to shop the latest fashions and have them delivered right to your door in a matter of days. But what's the true cost of fast fashion? One fast-growing online retailer is accused of benefiting from genocide against ethnic minorities in China. Atra Elnashar has the details in this Spotlight on America report.
A brand new bridesmaid dress for $16. Jeans for less than $12. A gold satin blouse for $2.50. All on Shein, a Chinese online fast fashion retailer. Founded in 2008, Shein is now worth about $66 billion, according to the Wall Street Journal.
I have a Shein clothing haul for you guys.
Heavily advertised on social media and influencer hauls. Now, the company has caught the attention of another audience on Capitol Hill. In 2021, Congress passed a law called the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. It's meant to block goods from coming into the U.S. that come from this region of China, the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, where the U.S. State Department says genocide and crimes against humanity are ongoing. This United Nations report says evidence like testimonies of victims makes it reasonable to conclude forced labor of Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities has been occurring in Xinjiang, which China has long denied. 2 lab tests conducted for Bloomberg News last year confirmed garments shipped to the U.S. by Shein were made with cotton from Xinjiang. Shein told us they could not speak to those results, but said they comply with trade laws and, quote, "We have zero tolerance for forced labor and no contract manufacturers in the Xinjiang region. We have implemented a robust system to support UFLPA compliance, which includes a code of conduct, independent audits, robust tracing technology, and third-party testing." Chapin Fei, executive director of the group shut down Shein, calls their statements window dressing.
They are making very little effort to address any of the current concerns that we and now the federal government have been raising.
Uyghur genocide is a horror Rushian Abbas confronts each day.
My people are being used as slaves. Chinese government is making this genocide a profitable venture for the CCP, for the Chinese government.
How would products allegedly made with fabric from Xinjiang make it into the U.S. despite the 2021 law meant to prevent this? The U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission and the House Select Committee on the CCP say Shein and its competitor Temu, founded just last year, exploit trade de minimis import exemptions, a trade loophole that means shipments worth less than $800 are not subject to import tax or inspection if they're for an individual. Under Shein's terms and conditions, customers authorize Shein to import the products under their name.
And federal legislation to protect America from importing goods made with slave labor put the legal responsibility to prove that you are not importing goods with slave labor, made with slave labor, on the importer of record, which Shein claims it is not. It claims that the U.S. consumer is.
Republican Congressman Mike Gallagher and Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy, who lead the House Select Committee on the CCP, say the true scale of both Shein and Temu's use of the de minimis provision raise serious concerns about the continued presence of products made with forced labor contaminating American imports. The committee is still investigating, and throughout Congress, calls to close that loophole are getting louder. Shein says de minimis needs to be reformed, but there's been little to no progress in Washington. In Washington, I'm Atrell Nashar reporting for Spotlight on America.
Tonight, the D-backs and Rangers brought their bats in a slugfest to open the World Series. We're going to have an update in the opening round of one of the biggest games of the year coming up next.